a hijab does not like color her probably nicely in some of these people's eyes either. But yeah, so a strong victory, another strong victory for Progressive Nationwide as Ilhan Omar has defeated Anton Melton Mew. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, a very, very interesting situation. He just like Marjorie. So she's going to be in Congress. She's a QAnon supporter. Could you give us an idea of like to what degree is her support for QAnon? Would you characterize it?
Oh, probably a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm actually going to search it up quickly here. But the thing I didn't hear, I actually did hear about her a little bit. That at a couple of her campaign rallies, she was, going really kind of off the walls, quote unquote, saying like, for example, actually right here on Twitter, it says the fake news media hates me, big tech censors me, the DC swamp fears me. Now Soros and Dems are trying to take me down. I'm running to save America and stop socialist far-left fringe artists who want to destroy this country and turn it into Venezuela. Mansley is really drinking the Kool-Aid here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd argue, I mean, going back to what I was saying about what I've heard from her, heard about her, excuse me, is that like at her campaign rallies, she would be advocating for praying to Trump. She said that if she gets into Congress, she would try to advocate to have every American pray for Trump at 12 noon to give him good luck like every day of the week.
Wow.
And I was just like, what the hell is wrong with this lady? I mean, she runs a small business firm. I know that she actually has questionable ties with that business. I think that there have been certain accusations of some abuse that have occurred at her establishment. And I mean, overall, she's just crazy. I mean, that's to be honest with you, what she is.
Oh yeah, she also has like a pretty big history of making like racist videos.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm not shocked. I mean, she's from Georgia here, and it's in a Republican +6 district. And
So yeah,
well, look at this. They
this
have a
is from
video here of
Politico.
the supporters, and they're mostly old people. What's the funny thing about it?
Marjorie Taylor Greene suggests that Muslims do not belong in government. Thinks black people are quote held slaves to the Democratic Party. Called George Soros a Jewish Democratic megadonor, a Nazi, and said she would feel proud to see a Confederate monument if she were black because it symbolizes the progress made from the Civil War. The fact that there's again still up there in high glorified positions like that's what symbolizes progress from the Civil War to me. It's kind of funny, but yeah, so she finished first in a primary in a deep red Northwest Georgia seat by nearly 2-1 margin over the second place candidate.
Yeah.
So
It'll be interesting to see what happens there with the general election because same thing happened in Colorado, but this one is a much farther right district. This is like an R+27, so she's probably going to be
like
in
I think it was
Congress.
like a 75 to like 23 split
Yeah.
for Trump in the last election.
Yeah, I think what is going to happen, however, in the 2022, she's going to be primaried by someone establishment. I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe a state senator, maybe an assembly person. Someone's going to challenge her.
Yeah, because I think they're much better at like controlling the ideological
think about
boundaries of their party.
Yeah, it's that, but it's also like the progressives, I mean, just think about it. Instead of it being progressive, it's on the Republican side, and instead of being progressive, it's like the farther right. How the Democrats are with the progressives, they want to run someone who's establishment against them to try to win. That's what the Republicans do as well against people who aren't in the. I mean, that's how every party does. I mean, that's kind of the thing I don't like with the two-party system. But I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, so that is a very, very interesting situation. So we are, of course, also another interesting like wrinkle to this election I do want to talk about. According to a poll, people who that I have seen probably most specifically would be. I'm trying to find this tweet for the exact numbers, but pretty much I just saw a tweet that was like Biden fans will vote more on vote by mail by a large margin. Like 86% of Biden supporters say they're more likely to vote. Of the people who are voting on mail, 86% say Biden, and like 70 something or like 60 something on election day say that they'll. People who say that they're going to vote election day, that they're going to be Trump. So I think that's going to probably play a pretty big role. And do you think we're ready to take the fact that No, I don't think anything will be like really that close to decided, quote unquote, by election day.
It's going to be a long time for the stuff to get decided. I mean, look what happened in New York with the Carolyn Maloney's district. I forgot the number. I think it was 12. Her district was just called, like, I think 2 weeks ago. That was a full month and a half
Yes,
after
it
the
was.
election day.
Yeah, and I think yeah, like the Suraj Patel fight, I believe.
Yeah, he lost by like not too much actually. It was actually quite a tight race.
Yeah. Very, very funny stuff coming from just a lot of people kind of very much looking forward to seeing the squad being wiped out is going to be very, very funny. Yeah, it's very, very. Do you think, like, when looking at, just remember, I said this, I believe, on maybe on YouTube, but like the thing that would finally take Trump down when he stood 5 years ago on the stage and said Mexicans, they're bringing crime, some of them they're rapists or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, do you think did you really think that, like, of all the things, the finally thing that would finally bring him down, which is it looks like it's doing, at least it's seen the most substantial sustained dip in his poll numbers yet. Like, did you? I just was kind of surprised that it took a virus and just an awful response to the virus to bring him down in such a way.
I mean, I am a little shocked, and I think what really comes to show is, I mean, the Republican base is quite crazy right now. I mean, there are a lot of Republicans who are trying to get, against it, which is why these groups like the Republican Voters Against Trump are really, I mean, they're blowing up a lot of TV areas right now. There are a lot of Republicans who are upset with Trump, and before the coronavirus and especially after it. I mean, this guy, he drove up our deficit with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I mean, we were on a good track with getting our deficit down from Obama. We were at like $400 billion deficit. Now we're almost at $1 trillion deficit. Especially now, we're probably actually over $1 trillion with all this spending we're doing right now to get people aid, which, I have nothing against that or anything like that. But if his response was better, okay, we wouldn't be having to do this aid for the period of time that we've been needing to. Because if he tackled this virus like Germany or any other European country did, for example, let's talk about Germany actually. They're fully reopened, by the way. Okay, their market is fully reopened. Their jobs are back. People are just taking, necessary precautions, many of which are still at home. My point here is that many industries, like, for example, restaurant business, where you can't necessarily have everyone in the same day. Germany has a much better system of payments because, well, they have a much better fiscal situation than America. By cutting the taxes that Trump did, we have a massive deficit, okay? Not only that, but also let's talk about the states for a second here. The states, okay, with his new, BS executive order he did over the weekend at his golf course as well, which I'll have to get into that as well about that. Last time to talk about this guy with all the scandals. Let me stay on task here because I'm going to go off track if I go on one thing.
Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying about, what was I talking about? I forgot now. What was I saying?
I was like something about like first it was about like all the scandals, and it was all about like
scandals. Yeah, it was. I remember I was talking about scandal, but what was the
like coronavirus, like Germany and like.
Oh yeah, there you go,
situation.
Germany. Yeah, they have a much better fiscal situation with that now. The unemployment over there, like what they're doing over there is instead of doing it. Like 400 a week is really not that much. Even the 600 wasn't enough either. They're giving you money, like all together, just like a whole package of money for however, like for example, if you're out of work for 4 months and your gross pay is 10,000 a month, let's just say it's an easy number. So that's 40 grand. They're going to give you 40 grand in one check. And the reason why I prefer that over the 600 a week is because it purposely makes it hard. Because not only does it make it hard to get that money. I mean, we look at many states like Florida, Arizona, Texas that are having these horrendous problems getting the money. The federal government as well isn't really giving people who actually need it 100%. Like I think only like 60 or 70% of people have actually taken advantage of it, not because they don't want to.
You're talking about it's hard here.
Oh, it's very hard here. Whereas in Germany, they just give you one check and you're done. Here, they make it hard by having to give you a check every week, which is kind of
And also, yeah,
dumb in my opinion.
even the computer systems, like they're very, very like outdated. I think, like honestly, maybe stringing along the checks would probably be like a little bit better, like here in America. I think, but
Yeah,
in terms of just like even like if you look at like the right wing government in Britain, like
they're doing it better as well.
I listen
Even
to
with their
like
health care.
I do like listen to a lot of British news. If you ever want to like a British news channel to listen to, I do recommend the podcast or the media Novara Media. Like love to listen to them. They tell us like British news in a very like in depth kind of on the ground perspective. I've had to learn a little bit about like who everybody is there. Like all the media figures, all the politicians there, and stuff like that. But like they've been great to watch, and they're like, "Oh, Boris Johnson, like this is so bad. Like he's disgraced us. Like we have the highest death toll in Europe. Like this has been such a failure. Like the government hasn't been good about this at all. It's just like we would kill to be in that situation. Boris Johnson is like recovering 80% of people's wages through a lot of this pandemic. So like that is." Like a response like that would be unlikely even in a democratic like situation. Like if Joe Biden was in office, he probably wouldn't do such an advanced scheme like that. I mean, it really just shows you the really strange orientation of the way things are politically, and I really just get the sense like people really could bear Trump. Like all the people who supported Trump, I think they could bear him, they could stand him, they kind of liked him better than the Democrats, because Democrats are like a little annoying, but they really like. I think when money started coming out of their pockets, started getting sick, they started like losing jobs. Like that was really, I think, what killed Trump in terms of polls, in terms of his economic situation. But I really do hesitate every time I use the past tense, because again, the election is still yet to happen. Although things are looking good for for Biden at the moment. Do you think there is a reason for liberals to be nervous? Who do you think at this time, August 11th, wins the election? Especially now that we know who the VP is.
Are you asking like who should be like most worried right now?
No,
Or?
yeah. Who like? Do you still think Biden will be able to beat Trump in November?
I think that the only way Biden will be able to beat Trump is if Trump continues on his path of having the virus increase, advocating for school opening, which he still is. In the fall, if we see a major uptick in September or October with kids getting the virus, independents and moderate Republican voters are going to be ticked off. That would be done. That would be the home run for Biden unintentionally for him. That's the mechanism that Biden's going to have. And also now with all these Republican voters against Trump, the reason why they have to do that, by the way, okay, they didn't have to do that for Obama with Romney or even with any other president that I know of. They haven't had to have groups like this, even for Clinton in '92. The reason they have to do that for Biden by having all these groups like even the Lincoln Project is because, first off, okay, Biden's base is pretty much dead. I mean, it's mostly old people and maybe some young people who are just wanting to support a guy who can win. And
I'd say like quarters of it is probably negative mobilization caused by Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely will.
Like one of the most crazy things that just been like people. Like some of the most ridiculous, infuriating things have been people being like Democrats, almost like they're trying to like slap themselves in the face, being like, "We have to get excited about this. Come on, we have to get excited about this." Like people like, there's a tweet that I saw today that was really kind of annoying, and it's just like, let's see. Where's the exact tweet? This was before the VP pick was announced. It was just George Takei, who was like I think an actor or whatever. He's from Star Trek, yeah. So it's like whether it's Susan Rice or Kamala Harris or anyone else, hold your fire, Dems, and be there to help support the VP pick. Trump and his goons will come for her, and we don't need our own adding fuel to their fires. It's just like. It's really just like, are you like,
just like suck it up and deal
baby?
with it? That's the type of, yeah,
like
that's the
people
type
are
of
allowed to like. I'm not like being paid by the Democrats here. Like, if I think something's bad, I'm gonna say it's bad. Like, I'm not being paid by the Democrats to be like, yes, Democrats, great job. Like, No,
No,
like that's
no.
ridiculous. And that's like what the standard is for these people. It's like if nothing but like absolute loyalty, absolute subservience will suffice. It's like